So, good night everybody. בדיוק חשבתי על משהו, וחשבתי שכדאי להקליט את זה ולשתף את זה עם קהל מאזיניי. So, let's do it in English now. So, I was just thinking about something, for the first time, so let me share my thought with you, the audience. So, the thing is like that. I've never learned, formally, the rules of the football, game. Like the game that the Israelis play all the time against other people in order to take control over the people and, like the intelligence service of Israel, like the way that they manage their wars is, it relies to a large extent on this football game. And I discovered a little bit, I understood that some of it, I understood, just by myself in the last year or so. And I described part of, maybe 4 or 5 months ago, I've described, the part of the game that are related specifically to matching. The way that I conceptualize it is like a matching system in Venus. Matching, I would say, procedure in Venus. But it's more complicated than that because it can be used in all sorts of other ways. And lately I understood, I did more of the game, and this was featured in the Dark Horse series, specifically in the part 8 and 9, the Yeshiva U University and Katz Deli parts. But I was thinking about it a little bit more. There's a huge issue of intellectual property here. Like the Israelis, they are zealous about it. They are super jealous about it. Like everything that I publish, they are certain that it's not mine, and they are adamant about it, even though it's ridiculous. Everything that I've ever published in my channel or any other channel was always mine, and if not, in the rare cases, like one case of one PowerPoint presentation of Yossi Ben Moshe regarding the canon, and my father, original Israel David, it was married Sheva Ben Bichri, and the Siburi Alina of Jacob Vechopoulos. Other than that, everything's mine. And maybe 2 works, Amirim works that I've done with another student, one is Oli Alon and one with Noah Alfia. Everything, but in any case, it's I never I never lied about anything. Just you can. It's very easy to know who wrote the stuff. It's always mine, unless I've specifically written otherwise. But still, I don't even. Nobody ever told me how to publish things. Up until now, I admit I don't really understand. I don't really understand the whole mechanism. How do you publish things? I don't even know how it's done. Only lately I understood that, there is some kind of, double, mechanism here, which is very common in the narrow language, that you need to do things twice in order for that to be, symbolic. Because otherwise, maybe you've done it just, for your own purpose. But if you do it 2 times consecutively, it means that, it means something. And although I understood that, if you burn the needles, while you do it, it's it gives this some kind of a credence. But I don't completely understand, how much do you need, to burn, in order to, or to waste, in order for, what's the quantity here, the quantity mechanism? Because presumably, you could say that, if you just publish, it's different to publish stuff and to use it. So you can say, if you just publish it, you just did it, so presumably you don't need to burn anything. Maybe you just need to burn the needles while you use it. I don't know. It's a question. It's a question, and I admit I don't have the answers. Although I don't completely understand, how do you, with regards to audio, video and audio things, it's pretty straightforward. I would say, and in most of my stuff, I have thousands of lectures in video. Not everything is super interesting, but many things I hope they have their audience because they are supposedly interesting to some people. But I thought, okay, maybe when you just publish it, after you record it, when you publish it, you post it in some kind of stage. It's maybe that's how it's it's now being published and also under your claim. And when you use it, you just listen to it, or you play it. Maybe. I'm not even certain about it, but I mean, it seems to me like reasonable. But I'm not even sure why, because I was never told like of the rules. And with regard to text, it's even more complicated. Like I mean, how do you actually? So when you just publish the text, you need to publish the whole text, like with pictures. So maybe there is like another form which is more convenient and more appropriate to text. I'm not sure. And how do you use it? Just you republish it, you repost it, or maybe you post just the first page. I admit I don't know. It's a question of that. Anyway, whatever you do, the Israelis always say, I mean, it's not yours, you're a pirate, or whatever, which is ridiculous because, I mean, there are rules internal to the game that defy piracy. But of course, you need to know the rules. The problem is that probably only the Israelis know the rules, and even probably them, they don't know everything about it. And they keep everything as a secret. So other people might not even know how to publish stuff. So that's how they cheat, by just not telling everyone about the rules. But if you know the rules, you cannot cheat. You can internally not cheat, because I mean there is internal rules to the game, and this is obvious. Let's avoid cheating. But still, I mean, they don't care about laws and rules, so they always blame you and everything, and that's the way. Although there is the issue with team, because presumably you can publish things of other people, and you can even use it. And the thought of the Israelis is that this can only be done if they are in your team. Now this is this is problematic, because as I understand it, a team means the people that you share heroes with, you share teams. They're like your family, or maybe friends. But presumably, all sorts of people can be, teams can be, it's not like the color teams, because it's a team of of a certain, magnitude. Because the more you share a team with somebody, the more you are in his or her team. So there can be competing teams on competing claims to the same person from different teams, which is obviously what happens all the time. So there's a question here. Or maybe there is some kind of mechanism that, or maybe I'm wrong about it. Maybe there is some kind of mechanism that allows you to capture somebody. That's how the Israelis conceptualize it, even though I don't understand what's the capturing mechanism. How do you capture somebody? I don't understand that. To me, it doesn't make much sense. And the way that the Israelis conceptualize the capturing mechanism doesn't make much sense to me, because it relies too much on one action, which doesn't make sense. Why should one action be the thing? I don't know. Especially since this action always contains some kind of T, like Nero kind of war, which is something that is done again with kind of scale, with kind of quantity. What's the price of one person? This cannot be. It's not quantifiable. Maybe it's indeed not quantifiable, and there is always competition to how much you have charity with a single given person compared to other people that are against you in kind of a fight. And this is also transient. Again, there are many questions here, mathematical and practical, and I admit I don't have the answers. I'm in a weakest position, and I suspect everybody that can listen to these things, maybe even including Israelis, they feel that they don't understand completely what's going on. But what's obvious is that there is a morality involved, and the Israeli morality is the most cruel of all, because they are basically just slave owners. Whenever they say we want D, personally, they blame you for whatever. It's so wrong for all sorts of reasons that I don't want to repeat now, because it's obvious. It's obvious that this is all they are slave owners, and they in the most disgusting way. They don't care about the person, they just care about, they treat people as property. And it's obvious that I do not treat anybody like that because I don't get anything from nobody, and especially not neos. Like I'm the source of all the tea on all the neos. I never use anybody else to get tea from them. I never have to do such. It never happened. Although it should be said that in the way that I use the symbolic, even the symbolic paintings that I use, like in behind me right now, they get the tea from me, not the other way around. And how can you know it? Because otherwise they would have bookend. Like these women, they don't have much in their body. Because if they have, the Israelis take it from them. And I mean, when I use that, like in the last couple of days or weeks, they don't feel worse. On the contrary, they have more tea than before, and you have ways to know that. But let's not get into it right now. This is to say that there are many questions, and I admit that I don't have the answers. But there's something interesting here, because at some point I understood. I mean, okay, so these people, Israelis, they capture people. So why some people are more important than others for the Israelis? Why are some people more important than others? Like, so initially I thought, is it because of the tea that they have in their body? But they don't, because Israelis take everything from them. Like, as soon as it is generated, they always take it from them. They feed them all the time. So I thought, okay, and I've put it to words, like, a couple of days, 8 days ago, that maybe the issue is the tunnels. These people have tunnels to many other people. Because the tunnels and the tea are not exactly the same. The tunnels also have properties. But then there are still questions of like how the tunnels are maintained. Like, this is a huge question that it was discussed in this channel in the last couple of months. And again, I want to focus now for just to deal with one specific topic now. And I don't want to get too much into introduction, but this was discussed the last couple of months, like the issue of like the properties of the tunnels between the gates, and there are people that have more tunnels, like to many other people. The question is so how it came to be. So I thought, okay, it's not because they might be just old or relatively old. So, I mean, so a lot of time people just, created the tunnels to them, which makes sense. But there are still questions that are being asked. For example, like, can the tunnel survive without the actual tea, like the actual gates? It's a question that I'm not sure about it. So I'm not completely satisfied with the tunnels, maybe it's true, but not like in a simplified way. Like we miss some stuff here in order to understand what makes some people more important than others. And then, maybe it's trivial, but I admit I didn't think about it until the last couple of days. It wasn't on my mind, but now it seems trivial to me. Something, that might be very kind of like that. Maybe they want some people because of their intellectual property. I didn't think about it until now because, admittedly, I knew that they want Ruth Fine, for example, but what kind of intellectual property does she have? She has, yes, she has, of course, academic stuff regarding, Don Quixote and Borges, which is incredibly valuable. But it seems like not that of tremendous interest. But it should be said that I also understood that these people, the Israelis, they most of them they have nothing. They cannot produce anything at all. They cannot produce anything. Most of them are just they have nothing. Just nothing. Now maybe it's just because only Titans, only Titan works, count. I'm not sure about it. Seems peculiar to me, but maybe that's the thing, that, they need Titans. That, like a dog in Homo sapiens that created some kind of work of art or, literature or an academic work. Maybe it's just, it cannot be published. I don't know. Why is that so? Maybe because they don't have their own tea in their body and they always depend on others, and you must have your own tea in your body. Maybe because the publishing mechanism requires you to burn your own tea. and and you know, and it's just impossible for the regular dog to do it. Maybe, or maybe I'm wrong, and they do not require it to be specifically the pigs or the titans. Maybe they can also use dog work. Maybe, but I do understand that most of like intelligence service they have nothing because they are they are like analphabetic goons. They have nothing. They have very little at all of it all. So compared to that, even like even things that I publish, they mean something. Even though it's like just several stories that nobody really read, but they're all original. But I mean, apart from them being original, they don't. I mean, they don't count much. Like just very simple academic works, not important, and very simple like stories. Even that is tremendously more than almost everybody in the Israeli intelligence can claim to have. Either because only Titans can actually publish, and most of the Titans are just analphabetic goons, especially nowadays, and probably since always. That's one explanation. Or maybe just the dogs are old, or they don't have much, or maybe it's not worth much. There's a question here. There's like a question here. Again, we have more questions than answers, but it's interesting because obviously they want people for the IP. But I mean, what kind of IP would Fine have? So we're back to the questions of like, what is a valuable IP? What is a valuable IP? And this was mentioned in the Katz Daily in the issue where you just as a question, but without many answers. And how it's calculated, because it should be objective to some extent. But objective in what way? All of that is difficult. And it's not necessarily that it needs to be mathematically evaluated. Maybe just simple logic or common sense can be enough in order to give us like many answers on the matter. As I've said in the past, to me it's obvious that one of the most important things that you can publish is academic, like scientific works with regards to the natural sciences, specifically medicine, biology, and physics. I understood DC and chemistry. Medicine, chemistry, biology, physics, these are incredibly, I mean, if like new kind of חידושים בדברים האלה, like kind of innovative, the question of whether it's academic, it's not the most important thing. Even though if it's in the sciences, it's probably published under some kind of academic umbrella, because that's the way it is in the 21st century and 20th century. It wasn't always like that. But the issue is it scientific? Like, is it like valuable, and especially in what fields? And is it like, and if you have a kind of like a new innovation in these fields, I knew that they mean a lot. Because even like my own like research into these things that are done not just when I'm incarcerated like in all sorts of layers and without any kind of academic background, but I do have science. With all the modesty, I do have valuable science in this channel. It wasn't published in the proper way, so maybe that it's not count yet. But whatever was published and it gets like relatively it's powerful. And most of the things that are regarded to the term bacteria, and because I have several good interesting innovations with regards to the term bacteria, and also with regards to the neurons. This is science, even though it's done in the most good way, but it's still science, and it's innovative, and it's important, and it means much because it's important. Other than that, I don't have much. I have many lectures, but I don't know how much there was. Like Shira FI is probably the most important of all because it's got a lot of readership. It's porn, but people like porn, especially Titans. So back to the question of what is important. And I've suggested the idea that importance relies on kind of like how much people have actually read it, and whether these people have the neurons in their body, because it's kind of like a simulation game. And although they might not really need to read it, but maybe it's like if it affected their life, or it's even affected the potential to affect their life, as can be judged by the simulation hypothesis. Maybe these kind of things, these kind of arguments enhance or enforce, I would say, the importance of scientific works, because it can be calculated that such works would be very, will be very helpful to people that have it in their body. especially things that are related to the trained bacteria. This is incredibly interesting and incredibly important. So even if I have like very modest kind of innovations that are done under very cool conditions, even that, I mean, it's very important for the audience, for the typical audience and the typical audience, I mean, is everybody. They have the T and the trained bacteria in the body. There's quite a bit of people in this world, like probably millions. I don't know how many, but quite a bit of these. And also, you should say that maybe all people in the world have neurons in their body. This was a conjecture that, I mean, it's important conjecture that, I mean, I cannot get into it because it requires too much, like hard science. But we have some kind of, like, reason to believe that everybody has some kind of thing in their body. Maybe not much, but that almost everybody has everything in their body, like from birth, without any relation to the planet Venus. This was certainly the situation in the past, like in the paleontology, like, distant past of humans, and it's still probably still true, but to a very small extent. But maybe it means something. And in that case, everybody in Earth, like, all people, like, they are part of this game of simulation that gives credence to some kind of like work. That's why, if you publish scientific stuff that are important or might be important to everybody, it's got like a lot of like power in the game that you use, even if you fight against like somebody that he or she specifically do not show manifest much interest in your science effort, because they might be stupid, but to everybody else it means much. Now, the easiest way to understand, I mean, like if something is, if a certain IP is like important, is whether actual people actually read it. Because if people actually read it, I mean, it's a proof that, I mean, they found it interesting. So it doesn't even mean that, I mean, to very small extent, this is true about Shira Yafa. Like, this is my most valuable asset, even though it's just porn, you can say, I mean, this porn, we've got so much of it, but I mean, the world does not like porn, and porn is not like new innovation in physics, but de facto, I would say first that people, they consume the stuff, mostly Titans, females, they like it. I mean, it's not like by accident, I mean, that they like it. I mean, because I have, like, it's not like coincidence. I'm coincident. I mean, because I know, I have, like, I know Titan females, like, I have my own, I mean, it's not like a sheer luck or something, okay? You can ask, why don't you waste all your time in, like, why don't you spend more time in writing more chapters, like, more stories? Can't you think about other stuff? I can think, as of course I can. I can write more stories, more stories to this particular, plot, and also other plots. And I'm sure that much of it will be very palatable to titles, because, I mean, with all modesty, I mean, I know how they think and what they like. But I don't have time for that, because I'm always like, always like, I have always other things in my mind. But certainly I can do it, maybe I will do it. Like, I mean, with the thought that this can, like, help me in the football game. Yes, maybe I'll do it. Although it should be said that my own mother have done so, like during the 1980s and early 1990s, like the original Hannah David. And that tremendously helped her to get rid of her own trained bacteria, which was, she infected with that to go abroad, mostly, but not just abroad, but also mostly abroad, like and that's the way that it was a very important way for her to gain a tremendous amount of tea during the 1980s and the early 1990s. And this probably is, I mean, this probably, was the reason why, I mean, she survived the purge of the Cherubs, like the radiation attack during the 1980s, very, very well. But not just she, but also her husband, like my own father, and probably other relatives, because other relatives were part of this thing. Like, mostly in the readers. I mean, like, she didn't like read her own works, because it's not palatable to female Titans. They like that men. They think that, the natural ways that men, like, read the stuff, like, like in the broadcast radio, and that females write the stuff. I mean, that's why it's one of the reasons why they are certain that everything that I like narrate is not my own words, because for them it's like a standard thing that, I mean, that the male is just, they just read the stuff, or, like, narrate it, like, in the radio, and there is some kind of thing behind him, which is not the case in my case. It's never been the case in my case, but I mean, for them it's like naturally, it was already like during the 1980s. Now it should be said that, so, I mean, as modest as it is, because it's not like huge viewership. It's not like like bestseller, like 50 grades, 50 Shades of Grey, millions read it. No, but it was important enough, and it might actually help, give him some kind of boost to sons, like אני, נועם, וארים לו חיי בכור, והוא הכי קטן, הצעיר, שנמצאים באיראן עכשיו. It might give them some kind of a boost, like in our very early days. Because, it was manifested through the three of us, we have shown like some kind of advantage compared to other titans that were, Iramatev Gimel, not that they were not stupid, of course, or slow, not at all. There were many smart kids, and I even mentioned many of them, or several of them, when I discussed the Alumot school. But yes, we had some kind of advantage. And it was both intellectual and also physical. We were, all three of us, when we were in our early days, we've manifested higher than usual, intellectual capacities and physical size and weight. And this is important because the telemetry, as you know, is like a huge thing, and these are people to eat, and it's not a new thing. It was always like that. And when taking into account the 80s and the huge attack that the cherubs inflicted on the earth, the same goes right now. Now it's incremental, and it's going to be even worse. But you already had this kind of thing during the 80s, and many people died, all over the world, people of the intelligence services, even the T. I don't know how many, but many, certainly hundreds of thousands, all over the world, certainly. They just died, they lost their life. So to be born to such a situation, when you are a Titan, and you certainly have the Titan material, because all Titans have the Titan material, pretty much on Earth, but still to demonstrate, higher than usual, both intellectual and also physical properties, and this is true to all three of us, Ani and Rui. It means something, and it might be because our mother, of course, she was not our biological mother. She adopted us, but when she adopted us from the first days, and she took care of us. So just by that, she transferred a lot of tea to us. Just by that, because that's it. These things transfer between parents to children, even if they are adopted parents. It's manifestly true, and you can see so many, there's so much, so much evidence to that, but I don't want to get into it right now. Just say that even, her stories, which were not bestsellers or something, but yes, they were consumed בשקיקה, בעיקר בקהל איטליות חרדיות שהיו הרבה כאלה. זה לא מעט, בישראל ובעולם, או חרדיות לשעבר, או כל מיני כאלה. היו לא מעט. There were quite a bit, and they liked the stories. Just, so we're here. I've never listened even to one of the stories. I don't know. Of course, I was a child, and there is no written material about it. Or maybe she has got something in Iran, maybe. But I don't have no idea what's in it. I do know that she's done it, and with the help of relatives, male relatives, to not just my father, but other male relatives, just as readers. And everybody, and that they all kind of they all received some kind of this thing, the nerves, and yes, it helped them during the 80s. These were difficult years, and it helped them, and it also helped us, the children. So that should say, even if something is it's got a readership or viewership, even if it's modest. If these viewerships, and especially if they are Titans, all of them, so they have to feed their body, it's very strong from that perspective. It gives you a lot of, advantage in this game. And since pretty much all their audience, Han David's audience, were all Titans, this was a huge thing. I don't know if she thought about it, maybe she did, but she understood it. Certainly she understood that this is the situation in the 1980s. And combined with the fact that she herself, she's got the bacteria in quantity, in non-negligible quantities in her own operations in the United States, and combined with the fact that there was a radiation attack that killed so many people, but she probably understood that this is a way to get the tea, and she was right about it. And not just for her, but also for relatives, or also for her sons. So these things, I mean, they can help you even if they're not bestsellers, but I mean, they have their own audience, even if it's just an audience of thousands, but still it's quite a bit. And especially if they are titans. Especially if they are titans, because they themselves, they have a lot of in their body. Much more, relative to Homo sapienses. Still, all of that, I mean, gives us some kind of like a question. Like,